record.
Okay.
And that was a picture, y'all. So let's do that again.
Mine worked.
All right.
You didn't.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Is that it? That's
It's
the clap?
the second one.
Second clap.
It was the second clap. I'm a professional.
This feels rushed.
It does feel
Do you feel rushed?
I do feel rushed, but I'm excited for this one.
Okay. Do we want to shut the door? We should probably shut the door.
Probably shut the door.
What's easier? Who's got less things attached to them?
Oh, I can do it. Assistant, could you please shut the door for us, please? Yes, Jeremiah.
I'll tell you what. Our new assistant is just fantastic. Let's do
Let's start with ministry wins. I know that we kind
of... Are we going? Did we start? Have we started the podcast?
Oh, we've started the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, the start of the podcast is going to be, have we started the podcast?
Have we started the podcast?
Yes, this whole thing's in the podcast.
If I keep saying, have we started the podcast? It's the first time I said, have we started the podcast?
It's really whenever you want to start. You edit these things.
Where do you come from to get here? Like, why? Like, because you were rushed today. Traffic fought you.
Yes. So I come from all over because of my job.
So is it different? So we record these on Thursday.
Yep.
So is it a different place every Thursday that you're coming from?
Give or take. Like the past few Thursdays was San Diego. Today I was out in Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
Which is past LA. So it took me an hour and a half to get there from here. And then I had to come fight LA traffic to get back to here.
Good times. Hey, if you like traffic, if you like it, this is the place for you.
I think you have to love traffic for this to be the place for you. I don't think you can just like it.
That's why I like just living relatively close to the church. I don't have to go anywhere.
It was fantastic when I was living with Henry, the guy I lived with before.
Yeah.
Because, right there.
Just right down the street?
Yeah, 5 minutes away.
So good.
No traffic ever, unless I decide to walk, which would be weird. But, yeah.
Hey, let's podcast.
Let's podcast. Hey,
I don't think we have anything to podcast about.
Oh, no, we have two major things to podcast about today.
I have a list of things that I want to podcast about.
And what I want to start with is ministry wins and losses over the past week.
Well, then let's podcast about it.
So what are your ministry wins last week?
I don't even get a chance to think about it.
No.
Have you had a chance to think about this?
Like
you have something already. I feel like you should go.
I have one ministry win.
Okay.
And we did our Thursday night last week, and it was a mess. That's not a win. Last Thursday overall, not a win for me.
It was rough. It was rough all around.
All around, which will be part of the losses category that we probably talk about a little bit today. But the win, after I was doing the worship set that we did,
right,
a student came up to me and said, "You know what? You're probably one of my favorite adults." And I was like, "That's it. I'm done. Like, that's all I need to hear. The entire night could be horrible, but I heard that one line and I was like, I'm good to go."
That's fantastic.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff that you want, especially in youth ministry.
Yes.
Not that we are replacing parents or that we are the better adults in these kids' lives, but that they see us as like valuable people in their lives.
Yes.
That we are valuable additions to their lives.
Yeah, and I don't take it as I'm better than her parents at all. I'm one of her favorites. That could be a long list of 10, 15 people that put me in that list.
That's true.
So
she says, you're one of my favorite adults. Now, granted, there's 100 people on that list, and you're on there. You're on there.
But as far as I know, you're not on that list. You might be, but she hasn't told you explicitly. So,
well, I don't even know who you're talking about.
We can talk about that off air. Now, I don't know if this is gonna make it on the podcast, just because.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do all the editing, so we'll see. I'll listen to the whole thing and I'll just decide.
Well, it's more like just because we're saying a bunch of names and stuff. And
I think I'll probably
details.
Well, I'm definitely going to cut all the part where like you're getting praise and I'm not. Like that stuff is going to get cut.
Actually, if you could say, was your ministry win? You're getting praise and I'm not. Like, just cut straight to there.
There it is. That line. I can edit all this stuff together. It'll look weird on the video part, but
no.
But yeah, audio wise, it's going to totally sound like
sounds good.
You're jealous of me.
I am jealous of you. Yes. You stole my job.
Oh man.
So I'm jealous of that factor. You have a wife and kids. I should hopefully in the relatively near future have one of those.
You're working on it.
I'll work on the other ones.
Hey, the trajectory is set.
It is. It's pretty good.
You're only a couple years behind where I was.
Yeah.
If you
want to say it that way.
You're all right. I mean, granted, you're always the oldest person in the room.
It's weird how that works out.
But But realistically speaking, I mean, because I was 31 when I got married.
Oh, then I'm like 5 years behind you.
Yeah, so but that's
6
not,
years.
But that's, what is 7 years, 10 years? Okay, fine. It was 20 years ago. But it's not that bad. I think based on especially the way that I see a lot of marriages, especially young marriages now, that things get really dicey. There's just a lot of that going on. And so I think a little bit, if you can wait a little bit, get yourself kind of set and secure and who you are and mature a little bit, I think that's super beneficial.
Yeah, I think the stats say like if it's under 21, the chances of you lasting is like super low, like 15% or something like that.
Yeah.
But when you get over 21, the chances of surviving or not getting divorced go up significantly. And then from there are other factors that play into it.
Right.
But I wonder how much that is the culture that we currently put our kids in. This idea that like, if I don't like something, I just move on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know if you want to call it cancel culture or...
I don't even think it's cancel culture. I think it's just...
Well, say if you don't like it, then you don't need it. Like, it's like, this doesn't fit what I want. This doesn't fit my needs or my expectations or my desires for how I want to live my life. And so I'm done with you.
Yeah, like there's that mentality of if you don't like me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
Is that from a movie?
I've heard it a lot from people.
Okay.
I've seen the people, and I'm usually like, if it's a friend I have that posts it, I usually respond like, hey, I'm so glad this man on the cross did not have that same mentality. Like, and usually I know the person, so I can come out a little bit harder. Like, I don't do this for random people on the internet.
Could you? I mean, we're like, this is Easter weekend that we're getting ready to come into. Actually, if you're listening to this, then it was.
This is Monday, Thursday.
We had just passed it.
Yeah.
But I mean, just imagine that, right? Because we know the Easter story. Jesus is on the cross. He's dying for all of sin of mankind. But if he was up there, right, he prays, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But he's like, except for that guy. You know what? Steve over there and Eric back there. Tell you what, Joe, not them.
And Jeremiah in 2022, not him. He calls me out. It's the weirdest. If you read the text, it says it.
Right. It's that's that code we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be able to read between the lines and decipher.
No, I'm so glad that's on his mentality. It's like, no, I'll take you at your worst because I've seen you through it all.
Right.
And I love you.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to take you at your worst because I'm the best. Right? And that sounds super cocky if we were a regular person to say that. But it's like, Jesus is the best example of love and forgiveness and grace and mercy and all those things. And so you, at your worst, I'm going to give you all of my best.
It does sound arrogant, but when you are the best, it's just a statement of fact at some point.
It is. It's one of those attributes of God, right? God is good. He is only good. God is just. He's only just. He's only ever those things. It is impossible for him to be anything but those things.
Absolutely. He's love, which is the one everyone loves to quote or reference, but they don't take into consideration the other aspects of God. I remember a few years back, like somebody posted, my mom posted something online, and then her friend responded or something like that. And it's like, oh, that doesn't sound like a loving God to me. And I went like on a paragraph. I don't normally do paragraphs on Facebook,
right?
But I was in the middle of Biola, and I was like, all right, fine, I'm doing this. And I wrote like this paragraph. It's like, God is love, but he's also just. He's also like all these other things. He's jealous, and kind of gave out like references to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I felt really good in the moment. Now, I don't think that brought the person to Christ. I have no idea. Nope. I don't even know the person's name that I responded to. I just remember doing the response and being like, I felt good in the moment.
That's funny. Speaking of attributes, I think it takes me to, it just kind of dawned on me, a ministry win that I would say over the last year, or not year, last week. And I would say that it was probably at that same youth group last week that was just chaos. It just felt really chaotic. And but we were talking about an attribute of God. That's what our worship set was for that evening, was we would just take one attribute and we just kind of really dive into it, right? Worship is not just singing. It's all sorts of things. And one of them being that we spend time talking about who God is and getting to know him. And you taught it, and you were teaching on God is emotional, right? He has emotions. He displays emotions, and that's really good. That's good for us because it's okay that we're emotional. We were created to be.
That's a good thing for all men to
like
know.
him.
I said then that night too. I was like, hey, men can be emotional.
For sure.
We're designed by an emotional God to have emotions and to express those emotions to each other, which is kind of how we get to the level 5 aspect of things.
Right. That's a good thing. But in that discussion, because I think one of the kids was like, why is this worship, right? And so we kind of dove into that more, and then we started naming off some of the other attributes, and one of them being that God is jealous. And then that was like, whoa. God is jealous? He's jealous? That's that's a bad thing, because that's how we use it in our worldly context. But we were able to really kind of like break it down in that, like, no, he's not jealous in the sense that like you see somebody else with a shirt that you like and you feel like you should have it instead. And so there's that jealousy, that rage, that envy. No, it's the jealousy that a husband feels for his wife if she were to go and pursue somebody else, right? It's the same thing, that the jealousy that God felt for his people in Israel who were going after all these other gods. And so he is a jealous God, because not only does he want our love, does he want us to love him, but he knows that he's the best thing for us. Going back to Jesus on the cross, like I'm giving you my best. And so God's like, I have what's best for you. And so I'm jealous. I feel jealous when you go to all those places that I know are going to hurt you. They're not going to give you the things that you're looking for, the things that you need. Only I can do that, but you're going off with all these other things. And so there was you could see kind of this tiny little moment of like, huh. And considering the evening, that was a huge win.
The light bulb moments is what I call them. And that's what I live for in ministry. Yeah. Those little, especially with junior hires, because they can go from, I am singing about unicorns, to a really deep thought about God. And you're like, okay, it's those little moments that I look, okay, just have a little light bulb go off, and then we can move into, all right, let's just throw dodgeballs at each other.
Yeah.
And then we go back into it, and it's like, oh, they had, like 2 weeks later, another light bulb moment. And I hope, and I've seen it through the life of ministry, that they're building on those things.
Yeah.
So not everyone does it, and I'm not naive to think that I'm going to change every youth group person that I have, and I'm somehow going to have 100% retention rate after high school graduation, because I don't. But I really hope that over time they can look back and say, hey, these are things I learned. I had a relationship with this guy named Jeremiah who loved God, and he pointed me to God in times when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my the favorite stories of about my wife. She grew up in high school. I mean, everyone grew up in high school.
She was this odd one. She went to a high school.
But she was like kind of a crazy girl. She was a crazy party girl, and she went to church. She grew up in the youth group. She heard all of the things, but her life did not reflect it whatsoever. And she just did whatever she wanted. She was feeling a lot of masking over and numbing out some of the wounds that she had been carrying for a really long time, some of which she didn't even know about. And so she was doing all of these different things. And so she was coming to church. She wasn't really living it at all, but she was hearing everything. Well, as she got out of high school and then everything, she was still kind of searching, trying to figure out what's supposed to be going on. What is she doing with life? And she ended up getting to a really scary place, opening up some doors that she didn't know how to close. Well, as soon as things got so bad that she didn't know what to do, immediately, like all of those things that she remembered from youth group, like popped back into her head, right? She ran to her Bible. She opened it up. She talked to her brother, who was a pastor at the time. She talked to our youth pastor that we had growing up, and everything just kind of, that's when it clicked. That's when it made sense. In fact, that's when she says is when she became a Christian. Even though she grew up in the church, it wasn't until well after she left high school that she understood it, that it finally clicked. And it doesn't always click when you're in junior high and high school. But the hope, the prayer, is that all of the things that we do with them, the things we teach them, the ways that we interact with them, that one day, when the Lord is ready to do whatever it is that he's doing in their lives, right? That whole idea of bringing about he's created you. You are his. I'm mixing up like 10 verses.
You
right
are,
here.
and you are new creation.
Right.
You are his workmanship.
His workmanship. There
Which
it is.
one are you
Created
going
for good works. That's
there we
what
go.
It is. Yeah. Created for good works. And he'll
Ephesians.
bring it to a place of completion, right? And so we're all on a different path, different timeline, and he's going to do what he needs to do when he wants to do it. And the point that's going to bring him the most glory. And so high school is, sometimes we think that like as in youth ministry, it's like, no. I have to get them now. Like I have to teach them, convert them, change them. They need to be like 100% basically
If
angels.
I don't, they're going to go to hell.
Right. That pressure is huge. But that's not the case.
No.
It's all about building those relationships, demonstrating God's love in hopes that when, after they leave here and they get out into the real world, that they've got something to hold on to, something to build on.
Yeah. I mean, I heard it in I think it was my spiritual formation class at Biola. And the professor was talking about how if you think of it like we're a giant gallon of water of sin or whatever's in our life, messes in our life, right? And we think that we need to pour it out one by one. And God's like, no, I'm just doing a teaspoon now. I'll do a teaspoon here, a teaspoon there. God's working in ways that we don't get to see. He's filling us up with good liquid, taking the bad stuff out. And we as humans, because we're impatient and probably because of the culture we're in right now, we're like, we need it now. And we can look at other people's lives and say, they can't be a Christian because they have all this messed up. And God's like, no, they're a Christian. They are mine. And I am slowly fixing them because I see the big picture. And I know if I took everything away right now, they would crumble. But I am working on step by step to get them to where I want them. Not where Jeremiah wants them, which can be frustrating.
Super frustrating. I know what I want. I know when I want it. Now.
Well, not even just for myself, but when I look at other people, and I'm like
wanting something for them.
Yeah, I want them to be fixed, and it's not my job to fix them. It's my job to point them to Christ. It's my job to emulate Paul's idea of follow me as I follow Christ. I love that meme of the 3 different Spider-Men, where he's like, follow me as I follow Christ, and it's like Peter Parker, another like Peter Parker doing something, and then like Miles Morales is like, what's going on? What's happening? And so I'm just like, that's what I'm trying to do. I follow you as you follow Christ. Kids follow me as I follow you, and on up the chain.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Any other ministry wins this week?
I mean, I probably should have been thinking about it over the last 10 minutes that we've been talking. It's not necessarily a youth ministry win, but I would say ministry win in general, in that I baptized this guy on Sunday at church. He had emailed our church, maybe a month ago or so, saying that he was interested in being baptized, which we get on occasion, but some of the times that's people who are feeling really oppressed for one reason or another. They feel some kind of spiritual attack. They've never been to church. They don't know anything about church or Christianity. They just, from the movies that they've seen, they're like, oh, things are bad happening in my life. I need to go get baptized. Then all my problems will go away. So we get those every once in a while.
That's exactly how that works, right?
It does in the movies. Yes, absolutely.
In the movies,
absolutely.
Yes.
But then there's usually a possession and like vomit and head spinning and crazy.
The water boils as you go in. Yeah.
You know, basic chemistry. And so we just started emailing back and forth just to kind of figure out who he was and what was going on. And he had just kind of moved to the area. He was trying to set roots down. He wanted to. He'd been watching our sermons online and was really feeling drawn to connect here at the church. And we were announcing that we were doing a bunch of baptisms on Palm Sunday, and so he wanted to. So yeah, we just started emailing back and forth. And his family, or his parents, immigrated from Iran. And he was a lawyer, and he was ready. He was ready to take that next step with his life and his relationship with Jesus. And so we baptized him. And I just thought that was so profound, because so often we feel the I don't know, it's not the call, but the urge or the responsibility that like we have to go out and physically get people and bring them to the church. Like it's our job. People are not going to come to the church unless we go out and get them and convince them to come. And here we have an example of God doing it. God brought this person here. He didn't know anybody. And he just through whatever, I don't know, however he found us online, and amidst the hundreds of churches that are here in Long Beach.
there are a lot.
This is the one that he ended up at. And I'm so excited. I hope we're able to get him plugged in. I'm excited for what that means for our church, as well as whatever it is that God's doing here at Long Beach Alliance.
I'm going to call that ministry win for myself, as I am the sound and media tech guy at the church. And if you found us via the online sermons, my doing.
I'm pointing at Jeremiah. If you can't, yes.
So I'm gonna call that my win. That's mine. That's a soul for me.
A soul for you.
Put it on the board.
Did you have something more that you wanted to add to that?
No, I mean, I like those ministry wins. I think
that's
maybe
great.
After last week, I was like, we just need to maybe focus on some ministry wins this week before we go into junior high night.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's a really good thing. Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Now,
it's
ministry losses?
To rethink. No, I don't know. Those are harder, especially if I can think of one. Like, do I want to say it online? Right? I'd hate to break any trust or use this platform to gripe.
Yeah.
I think that you and I can. I mean, definitely like part of just our friendship and relationship is that we can do those things with each other. Because I think that times, especially in ministry, especially when you're dealing with a lot of people, you need to be able to have somebody that you can vent to. It's kind of like that idea of like writing a letter, just getting it all out in a letter, but then putting that letter away, not actually delivering it.
Burning the letter, saying hopefully no one ever finds it. But if it does a movie, inevitably someone finds half of the pages you try to burn.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, even if it's just a piece, just has their name and hate, right? It's just like, oh, those are like the worst 2 words you could find. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't know, and I can't think of any losses or losses, not wins.
I just wins and losses just because I'm a sports guy, and so I think in those terms.
Oh, I'm a sports guy.
Yay sports!
Yay sporting team. Sport ball.
Sport ball is always a good sport to follow.
It's true.
But yeah, I wouldn't say there's any losses for me. Even with a night that was a little bit frustrating, it wasn't a loss. I'm still hopeful. I was going to say that doing this for 10 years now, I've had those nights before.
Yeah.
And I've had great nights. And there's sometimes no rhyme or reason for it. You could chalk it up to the moon in the sky or, kids had too much caffeine. They didn't play enough running around games at school. I have no idea.
I'll tell you what, though. We're going to run tonight. there's going to be running games tonight for sure.
So North America, South America.
Just running. We're just going to run.
Touch that door. Touch this door.
Heck yeah. Run a mile, and that's it. After the last one loses, I got candy for the winner. Youth games in a nutshell. I was going to say though, just to kind of like piggyback on that, just a little bit. The last thing that I think that even nights that seem chaotic and crazy and can be frustrating because we want good things for the kids. We want them to learn and experience good things. But they're also just most of the time the kids walk away like that was a great night. Like I had so much fun. Like it was just fun to connect with my friends and to joke around with the leaders and they like that and they need those kind of things.
Yeah, we got to hold things loosely. Like our plans for ministry. Like sometimes the nights that we plan out aren't great, but the kids, as you said, might be like that was the best, and you're like. Nothing went the way I planned. What do you mean? It was horrible. And it's like, no. All those great things. And you're like, did we attend the same youth night?
And I think that goes to like further demonstrate, right? That it's like, it's not so much about specifically like this lesson teaching these points or that we used this verse or we sang this song, that it's the relationships, right? Like ministry is so relational. It's so key to whatever it is that we're doing and to where God, I think, is going to lead people. And we get to be the building blocks of that. We get to teach good relational boundaries. We get to teach how to relate to each other when things go wrong, right? Because if we would have just stood up here and just yelled at everybody, right? Like that would have...
I wanted to at times.
Right? And I know you do. I know you did. I did too. I got to that point where I was like, and I'm not a yeller. Don't ask my kids, though, because I'm a yeller at home.
Sergeant Duckin comes out at times, doesn't he?
He does. I tell you what, and the Army point is there, and like it just my chest gets puffed up. I don't know how. Like
it grows like 3 inches.
Yeah.
You're like, what? How did that happen?
But if we'd have just yelled at them for not doing what we wanted them to do, then that would have ruined it, right? That would have put a negative mark on our relationship building that we had going on at the time. And so it's okay to have those nights that just kind of ebb and flow. Now, granted, if anybody's doing something that's dangerous or hurting themselves or hurting others, then, there are those points and those places where we can use a louder tone in order to get somebody to stop doing those things. But if it's just, I don't know, they're just kids too. That's all right. They're just kids.
This is true.
They're just kids.
One thing I do want to go back to real quick.
Yeah.
You said we don't need to go out and get people. Like God's bringing people here. and I agree with that overall sentiment, but we're also commanded to go.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that's a clarification.
Right. And so what I'm not saying is like we just sit here and be insular and God will bring us. But I think if we look at the picture of the first church that we have at the end of Acts 2, that picture that's like they worship together, they studied the apostles' teaching, they baptized together, they studied together, they ate together.
Yeah. They shared all things in common.
Yeah. That not anything in that list was we went out and collected people or like. Now, granted, one of them was like we studied the apostles' teaching, which would have then included Jesus' great commission to go and to make disciples. But it wasn't that's not what like the focus was. And I think that because it says even there at the end of Acts 2 that and God added to their number daily.
Yeah.
And so there's something about being able to have a great relationship with God and each other that people on the outside look in and they go, man, that's what I want.
Well, Jesus talks about that in John. When he's doing the Last Supper, right? And he's like, by the way, you love each other. And he's not talking to like the way you leave someone in the church, the way you love them.
Yeah.
That should be so radically different.
Yeah.
That it's attractive.
For
like,
sure.
The way like, I want to be a part of whatever it is they're doing.
Yes. And I think the church is having a hard time right now. The church is.
And you're talking about the church as a whole?
Church as a whole. Large capital C church. Right, we call this the Catholic Church, the Universal Church, like the not Catholic Church as in Roman Catholicism, but Catholic in it is the one large universal church that I think if you were to step outside of the church, if you were somebody that was not a Christian or a believer, and you were to look in at the church, your first thought would not be, man, they love each other well. Man, they take care of each other well.
You go on TikTok and you see Christians going off on each other for random things.
A lot.
Facebook, same thing, and.
For sure.
I get it. Like I like to have those conversations. I like to have theological conversations,
Oh, they're good.
Discuss things.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to pick the arena that you're going to have it in because of who can watch it.
For sure. It's that there must be a proverb, right? That's like, chasing after swine. I don't think that's a proverb now, actually. Putting your pearls before swines. You fight with a fool. You both look like fools. That kind of stuff. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't look well. But I think too, thinking about the stuff that's on TikTok, there's a lot of ex-evangelicals, deconstructionists that are, I think for the most part, they're seeing issues with the church and they're trying to rectify them. They're trying to figure out where things have gone wrong. Kind of a little Martin Luther-esque, like,
I know what you're trying to say. I don't fully agree with the way that they're doing it, but I understand what you're saying.
Right, because I think there's a large majority that's just like they've put such a negative taste in my mouth that I need to pull back as far away as I can from it because I don't want to associate it with it. And I don't want people to know I associate with it. And it's messy.
Yeah. I like that.
So we as a church can do better.
We can.
Just love each other. Is that crazy?
It's
love God, love others. It's crazy.
Love God, love others. As far as it depends on you, live at peace with others.
Yeah. Be peaceable.
That right there is a radical verse. I had a friend pointed out to me on a missions trip, and she was like, "Oh, I can tell that you're practicing this verse." And I was like, I don't think I could register that verse in my head. Like if someone's like, "Oh, what's that verse over in Romans?" Like, "Oh," but she said to me, I was like, it kind of just struck me as like, that should be my mission in life. Yes, I could sit there and claim why I'm right in this moment or why people should listen to me, but I need to live at peace. And even if that means putting on a face mask at times, even though I hate the idea of wearing face masks.
Right.
You and I've had several
discussions. Yeah. We never got heated, I don't think.
Discussions about it. And the church as a whole, like our church in particular, had a lot of discussions about how to do that.
Yep.
And for me, I kept having to go back to that. And I don't do it all the time. I'm not always great at it. I'm not trying to claim that I'm a saint in these moments, right? But I'm reminded of that verse, like, as far as it depends on me, live at peace. And then let everyone else be responsible to God for their actions and sayings. Right.
Let God sort them out. I mean, that's something else.
I think that's...
Yeah, I think being able to be peaceable with others is that pathway to the gospel. It's that pathway to building a relationship. Because if you can't be peaceable with somebody that you disagree with, it's hard to then also demonstrate Jesus' love. It's like, hey, I want you to know Jesus loves you. I mean, I think you're a moron, but like Jesus loves you, right? It's like, that's hard to get around. Like you can't, yeah.
I may have said that exact quote to a junior high before.
Oh man.
If we can be at level 5 for a second.
Safe space.
Yeah.
Safe space.
Thank you, TikTok. I probably said this word. I'm like, you're an idiot. God loves you though. And he loves me. I'm an idiot too.
Oh man. Idiot right here. Yeah, for sure.
I wear that proudly and note, like, I'm an idiot. I do some dumb things.
Yeah.
I say words that I'm not always proud of.
Right. I've done things that I'm not proud of. Right. But I think it's like once you can get to that point where you understand grace, what grace really means, and the grace at which God offers it, right? The mercy, the freeness that he gives it. I don't know, like the first time that I really grabbed a hold of the fact that God loves me, despite the things that I've done and despite the things that I'm going to do, was a game changer. And it wasn't like in the sense of like, oh man, I can do whatever I want now. Like I totally understand grace. So like,
let's sin all the more.
Let's go to town. But it was that like, I don't know. I don't even know if I can really explain it because I understood it. I knew that God loved me and that there was nothing I could do. Like if he loved me before I made a mistake, and then he loved me exactly the same after making the mistake, knowing that I was going to make that mistake, right? Then it's just, it actually makes me less inclined to do dumb things. I can't really explain that. It's like I guess most of the time, because when I make stupid mistakes, it's because I'm trying to live for myself. Like I'm trying to make a choice that benefits me, that gives me the things, again, I feel like we bring this up a lot, the things that I want, the things that I feel like I need or that I deserve, right? That's the basis of sin. And once I understand that God is truly enough, I'm less inclined to seek those things out that are just purely for my own desire.
Yeah.
And and it's a long road. Like I'm never going to get to the point where like, hey boys, I've arrived. Welcome me into the Trinity. Like that's not going to like be a thing that
it's the quadrity. It's the quadcept.
The quadcept. So I just think God's grace is fantastic. That's actually my favorite thing. Like if I had to pick one thing as far as Christianity goes, like God's grace is my favorite thing.
It's a pretty good one if you had to choose.
A pretty good one.
Yeah, no one's
so
gonna.
You've got a better one.
No. I was more just saying like no one's gonna fault you for choosing that one.
Like, grace, dummy.
so 20th century.
Oh man, suck up.
All about God's wrath. Am I right?
I could see that. I could see that. Speaking of God's wrath, who wins in a fight in a 6-foot pool? Polar bear or great white shark? Is that a good segue? Does that work?
That worked for me. I'm totally in. Because in my mind, someone's bringing some wrath into this fight.
Oh, man. It's... Okay, first of all, you have to be like completely enraged in wrath for both of them to decide, first of all, yes, let me go into this pool so I can fight this other person to the death. Did you ever see the movie No Escape, by the way?
No.
This is an old movie. Ray Liotta.
I'm not recognizing it.
Prisoners are put on a specific island.
Okay.
It's all prisoners. And
yeah.
There's like, I mean, there's probably 100 movies that have this exact same premise, but there's no escape from the island. There's like these guns, whatever, that blow you out of the water. And anyways, there's a scene where they have to fight to the death, and it's just stuck in my brain. I think I probably watched it when I was in, I don't know, early middle school.
Now
pretty sure it was a movie I shouldn't have watched, but
I think it's called The Condemned with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Never seen a Stone Cold Austin movie.
This is a movie where death row inmates are put onto an island, and they're said, "Hey, last one alive gets pardoned."
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No cheesy love story in the movie. It's just
can't imagine
bunch of guys, and I think there's a woman or two in there
just killing each other.
And
it's like Hunger Games.
Yeah, but it's being filmed for like the entire world to see and stuff like that. So that's how they're kind of justifying the whole thing.
Now, do they put like gladiators in there, or no? Right, because this also sounds a little bit like The Running Man.
Yeah,
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I think there were a couple of ringers that were there.
Okay,
But
Man, Running Man was a good movie.
they don't make it.
No, the Ringers.
Yeah, the Ringers.
Yeah.
It's
Same in Running Man. Arnold
there's,
Schwarzenegger gets him.
He runs.
Oh, that was T2 right there. That was I can't think of his name. The T1000.
The T1000.
When he runs.
Yep.
You can't see it if you're just listening to this on the podcast, but I was doing the T1000.
But if you're watching on the Spotify
on the Spotify
and the YouTube,
because we can do videos on Spotify now.
we can do videos on Spotify. We somehow, thank you Spotify, thank you Anchor.
Yeah.
Let's take a second to just thank those guys for
Anchor, who is the platform that we use to put our podcasts online. We qualified to for like early adoption of the videos to be able to put videos on Spotify.
And you filled out that form, and we were both like, okay.
There's no way, right? Because even like filling out the form it said like up and comers or like people who are already like proving themselves as everyone wants to listen, right? And we're getting there. We've got a handful of people that listen.
But when we filled it out, it was like after the week 1. It wasn't.
Yeah, we hadn't done very many at all.
Yeah, I think we just like wrapped up week 1, and we're like, "What's this?" You were like, "What's this thing on Anchor?"
Yeah,
we can do it, and so we applied.
We did, and we got an email yesterday, and so then I reconverted all of our podcasts to the video ones that had been put on YouTube solely, and so now they're all on Spotify and YouTube, so you can listen and watch us if your heart so desires that.
I do like the Spotify version of it, though, because I can sit there and watch it, and then if I close my phone, it still plays the audio.
Right, whereas YouTube doesn't.
Unless you pay for the YouTube Red, which...
Do people do that?
Yeah. Well, when it's doing like the YouTube live TV thing, like where it's actually like a Spectrum, like whatever, but it's YouTube or Hulu, then people do.
That makes sense.
I don't know if anyone that pays for just YouTube Red, just for that. I don't want to listen to... I want to listen to my videos without that.
Right.
Yeah, back in the early days of the iPhone, like iPhone 3, iPhone 3GS.
Okay.
When the YouTube app was actually on the iPhone itself and it wasn't like something you had to download because they had some sort of contract with Google.
Yeah.
It was fantastic because I would do that all the time. I would drive.
Yeah, I feel like I remember being able to do that because I went all the way back to iPhone 1. I was an iPhone 1 guy.
I was adamantly against all iPhones. Like,
really?
I had like... My friend's like, no, it's so good. I'm like, I wasn't an Apple product guy. I hated Apple products because I just remember them from when I was a little kid. And you're like, this is very limited in what I can do. And then I met iPhone and Apple apologist.
Okay.
And they were like, no, here's everything you can actually do on an Apple. It has way more functionality. It just makes it easy for the baseline people to get in. And then you can grow from there. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then... it's all I buy now.
Yeah,
I don't like.
If you are a non-iOS user, we love you.
Oh no, I love them. I just don't like the product. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not the person.
No,
I just don't like the green.
These are identity things. People. If you don't like Android, you don't like a person. Like that's.
If you don't like my choice of phone, you don't like me, and you don't deserve me at my best.
If you don't like me at my Android worst, you don't get me at my best.
That would be a great way to end, but we have something to talk about.
Right, the polar bear versus the shark.
Yes.
I feel like we're popping a lot.
We are.
There's a lot. I have a pop guard, but I don't have it hooked up.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see my face at all if you were on the video. It would be like this right here. And so it'd be like...
well, this would be interesting.
If you're watching the video, it's funny looking right now. If you're not watching the video, then you can't see what I'm doing.
That might be a better representation of it. Because this is just a circle.
That's it. Well, anyways.
Polar bear, shark, great white shark, 6 foot deep pool of water.
So we didn't get a lot of feedback online.
No, we didn't.
But what I saw, if I remember right, was a lot of polar bears.
I thought I saw great whites more. I remember one polar bear person.
Okay, maybe 2 people said something. One was a polar bear and one was a shark then?
Maybe.
I didn't see a lot. We didn't get a lot of interaction.
That's fine.
We'll get there.
It's about you and I.
Level 5. Okay, so what do you think? Do you like? You already know because I sent you a text about it.
I do know what you're going to say.
Is it the same?
It's not.
Yes! You're going down. You and your stupid polar bear are going down. Me and my great white. His name's Dave. You're going down.
Okay, you said Dave. I'm gonna remind me in a podcast or the next podcast, doppelgangers. I have questions about that.
Okay. Also, since we're talking other things for later, there's a new Kids in the Hall. Dave Foley made me think about it.
Okay.
They're coming back. All the same Kids in the Hall, brand new. Very excited. Loved Kids in the Hall.
We'll put that on the shelf because we're gonna come back to that stuff.
Coming back.
We're sticking with polar bear and great white.
Okay.
And
this is a 6 foot deep pool.
Yeah.
But it's not like a kiddie pool.
No.
It's like
the polar bear the great white can maneuver.
Right.
It's not gonna be like, hey, you're stuck in the pool and you can't turn around. The polar bear has all the advantage.
Right.
Like I didn't want that in the scenario.
Right.
But I've thought about it, and someone was like, oh, the great white's just going to grab it and bring it down. It's like polar bears go underwater. They're not going to be out of breath just for a little bit of 6 foot pool.
For sure.
And polar bears are I think 9 feet tall. They can get up to 9 feet. So they can stand up in there. Mm-hmm. And here's my scenario.
Yep.
And this is what I think would happen. Great white goes in, grabs his leg. Polar bear comes in over the top with a giant bear claw. Not the donut, but with an actual bear claw.
Okay.
Puncture his head. Boom. It's done.
Okay.
Like the polar bear. And I realize this is a movie and it's not actually real.
No, we've covered this a couple times. Movies are absolutely real.
Have you seen Golden Compass?
I have not, but I know that there is a girl that rides a polar bear.
Yes, but there's also a polar bear fight.
Oh. Okay.
And one polar bear just swipes at another and jaw clean off.
Interesting.
And I've realized that's a movie. I realize it has nothing to do with the great white. But polar bears have some...
Yeah.
I think they'd be the Rocky in this scenario. And 6 movies of Rocky have taught me you don't bet against Rocky.
That's funny because I actually picture the polar bear being Apollo Creed in Rocky IV.
Really?
That is exactly, totally, absolutely. Because...
Wait, are you calling Ivan Drago the great white?
Yeah. Oh. So I'm basically siding with the Russians right now. I know that's not popular right now, and I'm not trying to make any kind of political statement.
Let's cut that.
Yeah,
cut that. Cut that out.
Whoa, Gladstone.
Oh, that's a reference that's going to date me a little bit. For the parents that are listening, that was for you.
Yeah.
Kids, do your homework.
Oh man, because then you could even go like too legit. Like that used to be a thing. Like just like to talk using your hand and what would we call it? Sign language. Nobody does that. That's a crazy thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, your polar bear is going down.
He's not.
Here's what's going to happen. Polar bear is standing in the water.
Yep.
Right? Polar bears are big.
Yeah.
Polar bears are big. Great whites are also big. Dave, the great white. Dave comes flying in.
Great white Dave.
And grabs, we'll just assume, right? He doesn't do, have you seen the video of the great white that like comes up out of the water attacking the seal and like the full body of the great white is out of the water? There's a lot of power.
But that's coming from an ocean where he has time to get up there. This is 6 foot deep. He ain't got a lot of room to maneuver.
Right. I'm just saying there's a lot of power because you're right. He's not going to do the same thing, but he's going to come from the other end of the pool. Let's just say, right?
Okay.
So speed isn't really what is
in the scenario.
Okay. Right, it's just that he gets there and he grabs the leg. Yes. The polar bear can be taken underwater and he is not going to drown anytime soon. Polar bears are strong. They're good swimmers. They can go underwater. That's all great, but he can't attack. Once he's underwater, sure, he can swing. Have you tried to punch somebody underwater?
I know one thing about great whites.
Your polar bear is not knocking a jaw off if he's underwater.
I know one thing about great white sharks. And if that's what they come at you, you boop them on the nose and they're done.
I don't think it's as easy, but boop. Like it's not like
you just boop them on the nose and they're every single survival guide I've heard, if a shark comes at you, you just right on the nose.
You got to punch him.
Pop it.
But you got to hope you're out of water. You can't punch a great white underwater.
I think that's what they keep telling me to do. Like, why would they tell me to punch a great white if I'm not underwater with them?
Because you got to hope that you're out of the water. You got to do it fast.
In what scenario?
This is what
is a great white flying at me in the air, and I'm like, Mega Man, like just up in the air punching them.
Yeah, right. This is why you don't hear a lot of stories of people coming back saying, "Yeah, I punched him in the nose. It was fine." Because they're dead.
What's that?
Because they were underwater.
Soul Surfer girl survived, and you tell me
the shark took the arm with him.
That's a human arm. I'm talking about a polar bear arm.
Did you not see Return of the Jedi? Or no. Yeah.
Oh,
Not Return of the Jedi. Sorry, Empire Strikes Back. Those arms are come off easy. Like I know that. Granted, the what's that beast that he fought out there on Hoth?
You're putting me on the spot now, and I don't like that.
I know. I almost said Yeti, but I know it's not Yeti.
Yeah,
It is a name.
An abominable starman.
Abominable.
Yeah. A bumble. They bounce.
Bumble. Jeez, we're gonna get all over the place.
This is the part of the podcast that I love.
Yeah. So the Dave is gonna grab a hold of your shark.
Nope.
Pokey. Sorry.
Pokey the polar bear. Yeah.
Pokey the polar bear. That's great. We're gonna use a bunch of now that we're popping all the time. We're gonna use words that have just a lot of extra P's and B's. He grabs a leg. He pulls Pokey under the water and then just thrashes him around. And eventually that leg's coming off, right? And so now we're down. He's down a digit, a large digit, right? And this is going to keep going. Now, I will.
Have you not seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail? It's just a flesh wound. It's just a flesh wound. The polar bear's coming at him strong.
Now,
one quick blow to the head, a boop to the nose.
Have
shark
you not
is done.
seen great white sharks that have like propeller marks in their heads?
I have. Yeah.
So, like, I'm not saying that Pokey is not going to just hit Dave and like that's it. He's going to and then just drown.
He's going to do a quick 1-2 combo. A boop to the nose, a boop to the back of the skull, and done.
I don't think that's the way that the sharks work. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he is going to drown Pokey, or he's going to sever him severely. And so maybe, right? Maybe like your what was the Black Knight from Monty Python, right? Maybe he ends up losing all of his limbs, but then great, you still lost. Sure, you're alive, but now
you are completely wrong on this. The polar bear wins this hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
No way.
10 times out of 10 times, it's not Trident. It's not recommended by 4 to 5 dentists. Every single dentist will tell you.
Who recommends Trident? What dentist recommends Trident? That's like all sugar.
Have you seen the commercials?
I don't watch commercials.
This is like from the 90s. You watch these commercials. 4 to 5 dentists recommend Trident. What happened to the 5th one? And like they hit a fly and they hit the no button. Have you?
No, this is not a thing.
Okay.
This was a fever dream.
It is
the same dream. It is the same fever dream that made you wake up and say, a polar bear can totally beat a shark. Like there's no way.
I know. You are so
fever
wrong.
dreams.
This is not a fever dream. My polar bear, Pokey, as we've dubbed him,
That's the dumbest name.
He doesn't need an awesome name.
Because he's a great fighter, apparently, who can punch through water.
Have you seen The Warrior?
We're talking
the movie with the UFC fighters.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's the one where the guy comes out to his theme music and it's just nothing, and he's like just no sound, and that's what he's like. I don't need an awesome hype music song. I'm Pokey the polar bear, and I'm coming out there, a 1-2 shot in a shark, boom boom, and it's done.
If Dave stays 2 feet underwater, right?
Pokey is in the water with him.
But you're not punching through 2 feet of water to hit a shark. Have you ever slapped the water?
I'm a human. I'm not Pokey.
Have you ever belly flopped?
Yes, I have.
Right?
I belly flop all the time.
Right. And it stops you.
Have you seen polar bears swimming through the water? They swim.
They're very graceful.
Very graceful.
They're pretty.
Yeah.
I love a polar bear.
And they move.
They're good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to a shark.
And then you haven't even thought about the phone. Pokey gets the tail, holds the tail, grabs him, flips him around.
Like he's a gardener snake.
No, he doesn't have thumbs. I'll give you that. So he can't really do.
He's gonna do it like he's gonna squeeze it between 2 hands.
Yeah, it's like the alligator catch of a frisbee, just right there.
No, dude, your bear's going down.
He is not.
Man.
I don't even know how to finish this because you are so wrong.
Oh, you are so wrong. It's a good thing that I love you. Otherwise, we'd have to spend the rest of the night tonight on opposite sides of the youth room as we did youth group. Like I'm not talking to him. That guy over there, you know that guy.
I'm going to take this to the youth tonight.
Agreed.
I'm taking him to the junior hires.
We'll start it tonight. We'll ask him.
We'll take a quick poll.
Yep. Tell you what, we'll put another thing on this podcast too. What do you think? Right? Who wins in a fight between a bear and a polar bear? Sorry, a bear and a shark.
I choose the bear.
Yeah.
The
bear,
Ursa
hands
Major.
down. The Ursa Major. And let us know what you think because obviously Jeremiah is wrong and I just need you to prove it. And so we've got Team Jeremiah, Team Jesse.
Team Polar Bear, Team Pokey, Team Right, Team Winner.
Team Fever Dream.
Is this how hashtags get started?
I have no idea. I'm too old for any of this. I think we covered last week. I just fake all of this until I don't know what's going on. I just show up. I think that this has been fun proving you wrong. And
just because you get the last word doesn't mean I was proven wrong.
I think it does. I think
hey, we're so glad you guys are with us. We're the Level 5 podcast. I'm Jeremiah.
No. If my text message numbers have proven anything, it's that like I get the last word. I'm not worried about anything. Like I win because I'm not even going to look at it. Do you want to see what are we at right now? What were we at a couple weeks ago? It's probably not too much. Oh, it's not bad.
He says as he puts the phone down and doesn't actually say the number aloud.
230.
Okay, that's about average for you.
It's only a little bit more. I think it was 220 something.
I think
last
222,
time.
221.
Yeah. So,
and then there was that girl on TikTok who did she had such a high number. It was higher than 220. I know that. I want to say it was like in fours. And
probably.
I died.
People are crazy. I'm like different crazy. Like not this crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy.
This right here
I'm not crazy.
is proving that he is wrong in his thoughts about the polar bear and Dave fight.
All of this has been my great big fever dream. And with that, you are loved. You might die tonight.
I'm Jesse.
And I'm Jeremiah.